Long time ago, Sky invited all the birds for a feast. The birds were very thrilled to receive this invitation and were preparing in full swing for the big day. They applied sandalwood paste all of their bodies and they made beautiful patterns on them, and they just couldn't wait for that grand day to come. Tortoise was watching all of this from a distance and wondering what the fuss was all about. Nothing in the animal world ever escaped his notice, and he was so full of cunning. So, very soon he found out what the big deal is, and then he decided he cannot let go of this chance. Actually, there had been a famine, and for a really very long time, Tortoise did not get anything to eat. His body had become stick-like thin and it rattled under his shell. He just had to find a way to go for this feast. He went up to the birds and asked them if he could join them. And the birds said, "No, we know you very well. You are full of cunning and very ungrateful. The moment we let you in, you will begin your mischief." And to this the tortoise said, No, you don't know me. I am a changed man. I have realized that the man who makes troubles for others is actually making trouble for himself." The tortoise was so sweet-tongued that in no time he was able to convince all the birds that indeed he has turned over a new leaf. And so the birds agreed to take him along with them. And not only that, each one of them gave him a feather. Tortoise collected all these feathers and made 2 wings for himself. Now he could fly with them. Soon the big day arrived and they all gathered at the meeting point. And when everyone had arrived, they all took off as one body. Tortoise kept everybody entertained during this flight with his jokes, witty stories, songs, and everyone in that flock was so grateful that they had agreed to let him come with them. Halfway through the flight, Tortoise told them that there was a strange custom at their host's place. Now the birds had not been told about anything of this kind, but they knew very well that Tortoise was much more well-traveled than them, and so he was much more wiser than them on such things. So they asked him, "Tortoise dear, tell us, what is it that you have heard about this strange custom at our host's place?" And so the tortoise told them, "Oh, our hosts, they require us to take new names before we go for their feast." Nobody had ever heard of such a thing, but they trusted Tortoise, so they all gave themselves new names. Tortoise was the last one to do that, and he called himself All of You. All of You. Soon they reached their host's place, and the hosts, seeing Tortoise and the birds, decided that probably, or rather very convincingly, they agreed that Tortoise was their king because he looked very different, general appearance, and also the multicolored wings, and also he was speaking so well. So they invited everybody with special attention to the tortoise, and everybody was seated for the feast. First, it was time for the thank you speeches, and all the birds in the flock recommended that Tortoise should speak for them. And Tortoise, the great orator, in his sweet, silvery, velvety tongue, gave out the best speech of his life. And everybody clapped and was so impressed, and once again none of the birds regretted tagging him along with them. And after that, the hosts started laying out the feast. Tortoise had never seen so many delicious dishes being laid out, either in his lifetime or even in a dream. And there was drink also. Tortoise just couldn't control himself anymore, but he did. And just when the host was about to invite everybody to come and begin, he asked the host a question. He asked, "For whom have you prepared this feast?" And the host said, "For all of you." And then the tortoise turned around, faced the flock of birds and said, "Friends, it is the custom here that first they serve the spokesperson, and after that they serve the others. So what they have laid out just now is for me, and after I have eaten, they will serve you." So saying, he sat down and started gobbling and hogging and eating and drinking like he had never done ever before in his life. So that his stick-thin body, which was rattling under the shell, was now bulging out of the shell, and he could hardly move an inch. He was so full, but he was still stuffing down food and drink down his mouth. Finally, he decided he had enough, and he struggled but pulled himself to a corner and decided to take some rest. And pretty soon, he was snoring. The hosts who were watching this thought that this was the custom of the birds, that the king or the spokesperson eats everything while the rest of the people in the flock just watch it. So they did not say anything, nor did they offer anything more other than what was already laid out. And the birds were watching all of this very angrily. Some who couldn't control their hunger decided to peck at the leftovers. But the others decided enough is enough. They are going to fly back home on an empty stomach. They are not going to feast on leftovers, that too of the tortoise. And they did one more thing. They sneaked up to the sleeping tortoise and plucked one feather each, so that when the tortoise woke up, he found that his wings had gone. Now there was going to be a difficulty flying back home. What was he going to do? Well, the tortoise realized what had happened, but he was not going to apologize. Instead, he encouraged everyone in the flock to go back home, but then requested that they carry a message for his wife. Well, the birds refused. However, Parrot agreed, which was a little strange because he was the most angriest of all. But still he said, "Okay, you tell me what is it that you want to tell your wife and I'll convey it to her." And Tortoise told Parrot, "Please tell my wife to bring out all the soft things in our house and lay them out on the compound, because I'm going to be jumping from the sky and landing on the ground, and when I land, I don't want to be hurt." The parrot nodded his head and said, "Okay, done." And then they all flew back to their homes, while the parrot went straight to the tortoise's home, called out for his wife and said, "Oh, dear one, there's a message from your husband." And the tortoise's wife said, "Oh, please tell me, what is it?" And he said, "Well, your husband wants me to tell you that you need to bring out all the hard things in your house and lay them out in the compound, because he's going to jump from the skies and land on the ground, and then he does not want to get hurt." The tortoise's wife thanked the parrot for this message and set to work. She got out all the hard things that they have in their house, including the tortoise's gun, and she started arranging them on the compound. Tortoise was looking at all these things from the skies, but he was at a height, so he could not see exactly what are the things that his wife is bringing out. But when he realized that she has sufficiently laid out a lot of things, he decided it was the right time to jump. And jump he did. And he started falling and falling and falling. And he started wondering, "Oh my God, this is a never-ending fall. When will I land?" Hardly had he said that he hit the ground. Oops, sorry, not the ground. He hit the gun, and out went the gun with a loud shot. And the tortoise's shell broke into 100 different pieces. The tortoise's wife was alarmed. She never expected this. Worried and shocked, she ran to her neighbors and asked them for help. One of them turned out to be a medicine man, and he said, "Well, I don't know what I can do, but here's some glue. See if it can help you." The wife thanked the medicine man for this glue, came rushing back to her husband, collected all his broken shell pieces, stuck them all together with the glue, and put it back on his back. And that is how, my friends, the tortoise's shell turned out to be not a smooth one, but one that looks like a jigsaw puzzle. So next time